kwanza atakuja.
Haya, oda.
Kiberenge endelee.
Kama uko na kasongo uza pia.
Kila mtu anauza mkora yake.
Uza mkora yako.
Lakini mkuja na kizungu kizuri pia.
Haya, oda nani? Oda.
Sawa, mimi siko hapa kuuza candidate yoyote.
Yes.
But nimeshaandika checklist ya ule candidate ambaye nataka. Na wakati nitakuwa nachagua candidates, nitaangalia kila mtu na hiyo checklist yangu. Nimesema nimeshatayarisha checklist yangu ambayo nitatumia kuchagua candidate mmoja. Ule nitapigia kura. Na checklist yangu nimeweka number 1 corruption, number 2 lies, number 3 integrity, number 4 nimeweka checklist.
Hata human side.
So ule candidate yoyote ambaye ata meet 10 over 10 of my checklist is the candidate I will vote for. So right now I'm not campaigning for any candidate. But what I would like to say is this. Nataka niseme kwamba Thomas Jefferson alisema when injustices become the law, resistance becomes a duty. When injustice become a law, resistance becomes a duty. Tena huyo Thomas Jefferson akasema, people who own nothing have nothing to lose. People who own nothing have nothing to lose. What I would like to say today is that President Ruto has inflicted deep wounds in the hearts of Kenyans. Kenyans are hurting. President Ruto betrayed the aspirations of our Kenyan youth and shed their blood. The blood of our youth is littered on our streets. The blood of our youth is crying. I am saying that President Ruto and his government have failed, and they have remained with only one strategy, the strategy of intimidation, abduction, and murder. That is the only strategy that this government is still having, to intimidate us, to abduct us, and to murder us, so that we can submit. So that we can submit. I want to say that all the policies of President Ruto have failed, from agriculture to health to education. All his policies are lopsided and skewed policies that cannot work for our country. And all his policies are geared towards self-aggrandizement and personal benefit. They are not geared towards hata ukisikia affordable housing. It is being pushed because of self-aggrandizement and personal benefit. If ukisikia SHA, it is being pushed because of self-aggrandizement and personal benefit. Can you imagine that migrating from NHIF to SHA costed us 104 billion Kenya shillings just to transfer from NHIF to SHA, and we only needed 700 million to improve NHIF. We needed only 700 million to improve NHIF. Because of personal interest and self-aggrandizement, we had to use 104 billion to migrate from NHIF to SHA. So all these policies have failed. Wakati nchi zingine zinatumia indicators za muhimu kupima the growth of their economy, Kenya bado tunatumia bei ya unga kupima growth of our economy. Ukiuliza mtu uchumi ya Kenya imekuwa namna gani, how has it grown, anakuambia bei ya unga imeshuka. We are still primitive in this country. If we are still using bei ya unga kupima growth ya economy. Kupima growth ya economy. The growth of any economy in the world must be measured. The growth of any economy in the world must be measured by the power to purchase among ordinary citizens, among the people who are lower, the lowest of the pyramid. Unapima uchumi na watu wako at the lowest of the pyramid, they are purchasing power. Then unajua vile uchumi megrow. But right now in Kenya, people have no purchasing power. Today in Kenya, people have lost purchasing power. People have completely lost purchasing power. Na bado tunasema uchumi ya Kenya imekuwa. Sijui inflation has reduced from what to 3%. Sijui we have grown our revenue by 8%. Sijui we have done what. All theories, but nothing practical kwa mfuko ya mtu ambaye ako at the lowest of the pyramid. But bado wanatuchanganya tu. What is the logic? I'm asking you Kenyans, what is the logic in leasing our sugar companies instead of empowering sugar farmers to buy shares? What is the logic? Leasing to somebody for 30 years, to an individual, a proxy of people in government. Why can't we empower our sugar farmers so that they can buy shares instead of leasing the company to a person? What is the logic in building luxurious churches and the congregants who are entering those churches are paupers, are poor people? What is the logic? Kujenga makanisa kubwa, makanisa magnificent, makanisa mzuri, na wale ambao wanaingia kwa hiyo kanisa ni watu hoe hai, hawezi kuafford a meal in a day. A politician goes to get the best treatment in London, anaenda kupata the best treatment in London, the best treatment in South Africa. Akirudi nyumbani anawajengea kanisa. Mbona wa South Africa wangejenga kanisa, angeenda kwa hospitali huko. London wangejenga kanisa, wangetumia pesa ya serikali kujenga kanisa, angeenda treatment huko. Do we need a church or a hospital? Do we need a church or a school? Kanisa tunaweza jenga wenyewe as a community. But our priority is education, food and healthcare. Our priority is not for a politician to build for us a church. What is the logic? Africa is said to have 60% of the most arable land in the world. 60%, 65. Africa. The most arable land in the world, Africa, is 65%. But Africa uses $45 billion per year. Africa uses $45 billion per year to import food. To import food. Yet we have 65% of the arable land in the world. Kenya, we are a net food importer. This country called Kenya, we are a net food importer. Tuna import chakula. Kenya, 60 years after independence, Kenyans, we are still importing food. And we have arable land. We are still importing food. Why are we not food secure? It is because of poor policies, skewed policies, lopsided policies. That is why we are importing food to date. That is why 22 million Kenyans cannot afford a meal in a day. 22 million Kenyans, 60 years after independence, 22 million Kenyans cannot afford a meal in a day.
Which is 60% of our population.
Which is 60% of our population. Watu milioni 22 hawezi kuafford chakula ya siku moja. Chakula tu ya ugali ya sukuma, ugali na sukuma hawezi kuafford. 22 million people cannot afford a Panadol. But there is one person who can afford the best treatment in London, a Kenyan. 22 million people cannot afford basic education. They cannot afford an exercise book for their child. But there is one person who can afford to pay 1 million fees per term for his child at Montessori school. 22 million Kenyans cannot afford a Panadol. But there is another person who can afford the best treatment in the best hospital in London. I'm talking about the gap between the rich and the poor in Kenya, which is getting wider and wider. There is a person in Kibera who cannot afford 50 shillings ya kumpeleka Industrialia kwa kibarua. And there is another person who owns 5 choppers. 5 choppers, 1 Kenyan. That is the difference between the poor and the rich in Kenya. And, Mr. Chairman, I'm just concluding. And those people we are told are the middle class and the lower middle class. They are getting poor and getting to the lower pyramid, to the bottom of the pyramid. Wale watu ambao ni middle class, wale watu wanaandika maid, wanaandika shamba boy, wanaandika watchman. In this government, those people are getting poor. Badala ya kuandika maid, sasa analete mtu wa kufua twice a week. Because of this government. Those people are getting from the middle. When the middle class of a country dies, that country has collapsed. Hiyo nchi imeanguka. Because the bridge between the poor and the rich is the middle class. When the middle class is dead, then we have only 20 billionaires at the top and the rest are paupers, poor people. And you are pushing so much something called housing, affordable housing. For a person who cannot afford a meal in a day, priority in housing. That is why huyo mtu, hiyo nyumba atakondisha, arudi kuishi kwa mabati, sasa hiyo nyumba ndio income yake. Si wale walipelekwa huko upgrading ile ya Kibera kule ngambo. Si walirudi kwa matope wakakondisha hizo. Why? Because that person cannot afford a meal in a day na unampatia nyumba mzuri. So hiyo nyumba anakondisha, hasa hiyo ndio itakuwa income yake. Misplaced priorities. What is the logic in building big highways and big railways when we have no factory and industry to support those big highways? Hii SGR mnasikia hii tunajenga haisaidii Kenya, ni ya kupitisha bidhaa zinatoka nje zipite Kenya ziende. Haisaidii sisi. Do we have an industry to support that SGR? President wa gas wa Vietnam alikuwa hapa some 3 months ago. Anaitwa John Chow. President wa gas alikuwa na Ruto State House. Baada ya kutoka hapa kufika Vietnam, alisema I met the president of Kenya and the president of Kenya speaks very good English, very big English. But behind that English there is nothing, completely nothing. Akasema Kenyans are building big highways, big railways, but they have no industry, they have no factory to support, to transport things on those big railways and big highways. People start with the industries, people start with the factories, they do not start with the highways. Kama hii yenye Uhuru alitujengea hapa hii kwa hewa, wewe inakusaidia nini? Apart from kwamba kama unaenda Mlolongo na mvua inanyesha, utatembelea chini yake mpaka Mlolongo. What else does it do? Inakusaidia nini? Usinyeshewe.
Mpaka kabana,
Wani mavuli inafanya kazi gani?
Itakusaidia nini wewe? Mr. Chairman, I'm concluding by saying
yes.
Ours is misplaced priorities, corruption, self-aggrandizement, personal interests. If you go in other countries like US, a doctor in US is paid better than a politician. A congressman in US earns less than a doctor. An engineer in US earns more than a congressman. A congressman in US
Yes.
goes to the Congress on a bicycle. A Kenyan MP goes with a convoy of fuel guzzlers. That is where we are right now. And we shall never move. We are stuck in 1963. Tangu 1963 we have never moved. We are just in a cycle. But there is a generation that has refused, has said no. We shall not continue that way. I'm very happy. I'm very happy that there is a generation that has refused, has said no.
Yes. Kiberenge, I felt like I should ask you something.
Yes.
That we are stuck in 1963 when the ideas we created at that time, they were adopted by the Asian tigers. They are now thriving economically and we are borrowing from them using secession paper 10 prepared by Tom.
Thank you. Singapore na South Korea walikuwa wanakopa pesa kwa Kenya. Walikuwa wanachukua msaada ya chakula kwa Kenya. Saa hizi economy ya Singapore ni $500 billion. GDP ya South Korea ni $1.1 trillion GDP. Kenya bado tuko $100 billion. Mahali tulikuwa bado tuko tu hapo. GDP ya Kenya $100 billion. So when shall we move? Tutasonga siku gani? I was saying that I'm happy that there is a generation that has refused. Generation ambayo imesema mulidanganya babu zetu, mukadanganya baba zetu, sisi tumekataa, hamutatudanganya. There is that generation. And I want to congratulate the Gen Z generation. And in some of us, you have a moral support to fight for your future. Nobody will shape your future. Our youthful people, I'm telling you, nobody will shape your future. It is you. And if you are my generation and you are saying kumi bila break, shame on you. You hate your own children. Hata inafaa ukufe. You don't deserve to live. Shame on you. Shame on you. I am saying, na namaliza nikisema hivi. Namaliza nikisema
Yes.
Namaliza nikisema kwamba this country must change once and for all. We need to change this country once and for all. Lazima tubadilishe hii nchi, kwa sababu wale ambao walipigania hii nchi wakiamka leo, they will be shocked and they will die and go back to their graves. Na Wakenya wako na hasira. Wakenya wako na hasira sana saa hii. Mpaka natamani ningekuwa na uwezo ningetengeneza sanamu pale archives ya Ruto ili Wakenya wakija wanairusha mawe wanamaliza hasira. Kenyans are very bitter. They are very bitter. And this bitterness, we shall finish it in 2027 at the ballot. When you go to the ballot, wacha ukabila kando. Weka ukabila kando, vote for somebody who can change this country. Vote for somebody who can change this country. Tusiangalie kabila ya mtu, whether it is a Turkana, ama awe Mkisii, ama awe kabila gani, we don't care. We just need to see mtu mwenye anaweza kubadilisha nchi. Na kama hatuwezi fanya hivyo Wakenya, kama hatuwezi fanya hivyo, kama Ruto atarudi by mistake na kama hiyo pepo ya kufikiria anaweza rudi, shetani ashindwe. Shetani ashindwe tena. Ashindwe. Kama anaweza rudi by mistake, ama uende Uganda uishi huko kwa muda, ama Tanzania. Na kama huwezi chagua mtu mzuri, tuite King Charles. Tuite King Charles, tumwambie hii nchi mlitupatia 1963, tumeshindwa, tunawarudishia wakoloni, muendelee kutuongoza sasa.
Sawa bunge, sawa.